Your graphing calculator can be an asset when it comes to factoring polynomials because it can be an efficient way of checking to make sure that you factored a polynomial correctly. Now, it is a little limited in what it can actually help with. As you know, your graphing calculator requires everything to be written as y equals and only use one variable in the case of the calculator x. Well, that's not a concern. You can change any problem to have any variable you want. It is a concern that if you're trying to factor something that has two variables, the calculator may not be as helpful as you'd like. In those situations, you're probably better off using a more dynamic graphing technology like Desmos. But for the purposes of this exercise, I'm just going to show you a couple of examples of what it can look like trying to get your graphing calculator to help you with factoring. So here we have an obvious difference of squares situation, x squared minus 9. We're going to graph x squared minus 9 against x plus 3x minus 3, which we've already established throughout this lesson is how you factor x squared minus 9, and it is the most factored form. So interestingly enough, let's see what happens if I press graph. Here comes the blue, and there comes the red right on top of it, which is what we should anticipate happening. If we're going to make the argument that these two polynomials slash binomial times binomial, if we're going to make the argument that they're equivalent to one another, that when we graph them, they better be the same. And in the situations where we're not totally positive that they end up being the same, or we're not sure we factored something correctly, we can use that same logic and say, well, if they don't match, then we know that we did something wrong. So I'm going to start with a polynomial. Excuse my typing. I'm going to start with x squared minus 3x plus 9. And I'm going to throw out just an attempt at factoring it. I see a last term of 9. I see a middle term of 3. Let's do x plus 3 and x plus 3. We know that this particular polynomial is not a perfect square, but I at least have the 3 times the 3 making the 9, and in the hopes that that would work, creating a polynomial, creating a multiplication that will get me the same graph. So let's graph these, and of course we see that they are not the same, which is an indication that we obviously did something wrong in our factorization. So the graphing calculator, while it doesn't tell you right out of the gate, oh, you factored this correctly, oh, no, you didn't, if you know that it's in one variable and you can graph it and you can see that they're identical, then you know you factored them correctly. As we get more and more into this module, you'll see more and more how the graphing application connects to the factoring application. But for right now, just keep in mind that you have that option. Wanting to make sure they're the same, well, they better graph the same if we want them to be the same.